Good afternoon, everyone. It's 3 o'clock, and I'd like to call to order this Records in Public Safety. First item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda. I need a motion to adopt.
Motion moved by Nard.
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner Nard, supported by Commissioner Van Sickle to adopt the agenda. Any additions or corrections? Seeing and hearing none, please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Item 4 on our agenda is public participation. This is the first opportunity for public participation, and it's for those people who wish to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes on any item which is on today's agenda. There is a second opportunity for public participation and for those who wish to speak on any issue at all. So I will ask, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak at public participation for something that is on the agenda? And if you do, please step forward to the microphone. May I have your name, please?
Good afternoon. My name is Deborah Condino, and I'm the Executive Director of the Macomb County EMS Medical Control Authority. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm here on behalf of our agency, the Macomb County Medical Control Authority. We are a governing body overseeing EMS services here in Macomb County. And I'm here actually to speak about an agenda item that's coming up later in the meeting about the 911 surcharge. I just wanted to thank the Board of Commissioners for exercising your authority and sanctioning the collection of the surcharge fees for cellular phones back in 2022. Providing this specific funding to our dispatch centers has really helped them create an infrastructure in a dispatch center that will enhance the quality of care that is provided to patients in the field. EMS, as you know, provides care to our citizens who become patients, probably at their most vulnerable times. We have a protocol that's very specific to dispatch, and that is, it's called emergency medical dispatch. And what it provides is, it provides the caller to ask very specific questions so that the person who is making the call can assist in the care of the patient prior to EMS arriving at the scene. These pre-arrival instructions are very important and really enhances the quality of care and the positive outcomes for patients. My medical director was supposed to be here today to speak, but he had a family emergency, so I'm kind of speaking on his behalf. I'm not a medical person, but he will tell you that providing pre-arrival instructions to patients in the for patients in the field and getting hands on the chest for cardiac patients as soon as they can will improve outcomes by 70%. So we are working very closely with the dispatch centers to create an infrastructure in order to provide, have a system in place to provide these pre-arrival instructions and also instructions on how the paramedics, the EMS agencies should run and how many resources are needed. That's really important for safety of citizens and also safety of the providers who are driving the vehicles. So this funding over the past 3 quarters has allowed some of our dispatch centers in Macomb County, and there are 9 of them, to get up to speed in putting systems in place. Some of these systems are very expensive because many of them did not have the infrastructure, the systems to be able to do all of this.
You have about 30 seconds, Ms. Candido. Go ahead.
Okay. In addition to that, certification is required for dispatchers. And so this education is expensive and it's important, and the continuing ed is very important. So I would ask you to please consider continuing the funding for the 911 surcharge. Going to a vote or having any time where we wouldn't receive the funding could be very detrimental to this and set us back. We want to be leaders in Macomb County, and we are doing so by having this protocol in place. So I thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you. Next, we have a presentation by the Prosecutor's Office, Transforming Lives, One Payment at a Time. County Prosecutor, Pursuit of Compensation for Children Owed $5,000 or More in Child Support. Beth Kirshner, the Assistant Prosecuting Attorney, and Kim Shinnerman, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney. I don't think we need even a motion, receive and file. Make your presentation. Oh, Todd, you don't look like either one of them.
Need a motion? Support, Nard.
Get a motion by Commissioner Song, and supported by Commissioner Van Sickle for receive and file. Go ahead, Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're here with some good news, and just to thank you for the initiative this board showed and the leadership of Commissioner Brown and Commissioner Howe and all of the commissioners. It was almost a year ago today where this item was brought before the board, and it's my pleasure to introduce the chair of our Federal Cooperative Division, Beth Kirshner, also APA Kim Shinneman, who will be presenting as well, and investigator Laura Manzella. So this is the three, and we'll turn it over to them. Here's your remote, going left and right.
Oh, okay,
Or
thank you.
I'll run it for you. You want me to do it?
That's fine.
Okay.
So good morning. First and foremost, we just want to thank you for listening to us today and allowing us to give you an update. So far, we have been able to collect $324,000 approximately since you allowed us to have the grant and the funding last year at this point in time.
So, and we were able to get one investigator, Laura Manzella, in the division, and 2 senior office assistants to work specifically with these felony non-support cases. So we want to thank you, commissioners, and of course the county exec for approving those positions. And we wanted to give you an update on what we were able to do with those positions and how Ms. Shinneman, in leading it, was able to grow the collections of the back child support. So as you're aware and might remember from last year, our grant pays 66% of any of our expenses. So you funded the other 34% for those 3 positions. And in doing that, we then set up some parameters of what types of cases we were going to go after for back child support.
And if you recall, one of the main things that we were going to do that no other county does is we were actually going to reach out to the non-compliant parent first and try to get compliance without prosecution. So we have succeeded in that. At this point in time, we've added 176 new non-compliant parents to our agenda that I work with on a most monthly basis. Ms. Manzella helps me keep up with their payments and 2 other staff members. We have charged 54 new felony non-support cases. Those are people who choose not to cooperate with us. And going forth in that, we have parameters set up. We usually look at cases that are anything over 5,000, no non-consistent payments, people that have been where the custodial parent has made the allegations that the non-custodial parent is employed and working under the table and being dishonest about their income. So we kind of looked at it as a case-on-case basis. And with the funds that we were given, between the staff that we were be able to hire, Ms. Manzella has 23 years in Detroit. She retired from homicide. And the 2 secretaries or office staff that we were given combined total have 18 years at front of the court. And then myself, I have 23 years in family law. We're hoping to continue doing what we're supposed to be doing, collecting the money, working hard, and getting the money to the children of Macomb County.
Thank you. We have some questions here, if we may.
Sure.
Before that, you finally getting a lunch hour, or you're still working during
I
the
knew
lunch?
you
Last
guys
time
were
you
gonna
were
ask
here,
me a
there was
question.
if you can, and I'm trying to recall the amount, but last time he was here, there was an amount that you had received, and I'm looking at, did I hear that correct? $324,000?
Yes, sir.
And last time you were here and working on your lunch hour, you had collected
68,000, I believe it was.
on a lunch hour, and here we have 324,000. So
And
I think,
I would add, and I don't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
That even though we were granted those positions, Ms. Manzella was not hired until March, and then the two secretarial staffs were not brought into the office until May.
Thank you. Okay, I have Commissioner Hall.
Chair, before I ask questions of our presenters, there were those in the public that didn't get an opportunity to speak. As we had not closed the public hearing, would you allow them to speak?
Is there anybody in the public that wished to speak, that was not allowed to speak? Oh, somebody back there. If I may, after these presentations, I'll get you up. How's that? Or if in fact it's on the, that's right. Let's hear the, go ahead, Harold. Is there something else? I'm sorry.
Yes, I wanted to, first of all, I wanted to congratulate the prosecutor's office on the progress they've made on this program in such a short period of time. The chairman and I had pursued with the prosecutor's office and the support of the board, supplying resources to deal with what I think is a crisis in Macomb County. That crisis is we have parents who are trying to raise their children without the support of one of the spouses, male or female, who have been ordered by the courts to make child support payments. So very quickly, Kim, how many Macomb County cases are there that fall in the parameters of 5K or more in arrearage in Macomb County? Do you know?
At this point in time, we think about 11,000.
11,000.
Yes, but that also includes cases back that from 1980, 1970 that just have never been closed out. And those, that amount could be 5,000, but go all the way up to $1 million where somebody might owe on a single case.
Okay, and of that 11,000, how many cases have you collected on since January that got you to that, I think, 323 number?
I believe it was 279 cases that we're currently working with. And that would include, I'm working with about 179 non-custodial parents that are just paying on their own and becoming compliant. And then with the 54 that we've charged. So that brings us up to about 239 cases since March, and when Ms. Manzella and I kind of be able to join forces and investigate things more thoroughly.
I believe the last time Todd or Pete was here, I don't know which, when you were asking for resources to address this issue, there was a dedication of 3 that were chasing down all these cases.
Last time when we were here, it was mainly me doing it on sometimes during my lunch hour in order to try to produce a program that I felt was extremely important. I explained to you on that day that I care very much about this situation. And I think that us going after lower amounts, 5,000 and up, on a case-by-case basis, I think it's easier to collect from those parents that aren't paying rather than waiting till somebody owes $70,000, $80,000, $90,000, $100,000. Because as you know, there's a statutory minimum that if when we incarcerate somebody based on a non-felony crime, they have to post 25% in order to get out of jail. 25% of 70,000, it does the family no good, right? The children are usually older at that point in time, and most people can't come up with those funds. The lower amounts, people can come up with the 25%, and that 25% posted always has to be in cash and would immediately go to the parent that needs the money. That is one of the resources that we use as a team, is letting the people know that we call and ask for compliance, that if you don't comply, we do have another tool that we don't want to use, but we will if we have to.
And how's the cooperation with the friend of the court when these cases are getting to that amount? I know your goal is to try and prevent them from getting to 50,000 and 40,000, because during that whole process, we have children suffering. So how is the cooperation with the FOC?
We are definitely been working, it's a work in progress. We've been working together, and we've had meetings to try to come up with the parameters and the guidelines with regards to what they feel should be referred to the prosecutor's office. We've been working together with regards to if I find somebody who has an employer or they have a show cause coming up, I believe I watch their cases and I have communicated back and forth with them in anything I find. So we definitely are a work in progress. We have to remember that the front of the court handles the entire file, parenting time, child support, whereas we're more laser focused as to non-compliance and, you know, people that want enforcement and probably have more proof that the person isn't working. There, and the investigator comes in as a huge help because she's able to, before we even call the non-compliant parent, I usually have social media, credit accounts, we know what they own, assets, and we're able to let them know that.
Is there ever a time, since you're all working possibly on the same cases, that the FOC, the PA's office, and the Attorney General's office, who gets it when it gets kicked up, I guess, over a certain dollar amount, get together and say, how can we improve this process? Do those types of meetings take place? We look at a lot of departments and a lot of issues trying to find resolutions and better systems. We pay millions and millions of dollars for computer systems to try and improve a situation or productivity. So do you guys sit down, you three departments sit down and do that?
We have done that. When Mr. Lucido took office, there was a meeting between the Attorney General's office, the front of the court, and myself, Ms. Kirshner, where we all had a conversation with regards to trying to come together to establish guidelines for this scenario or situation without feeling that we were going to be stepping on anybody's toes. In the past, the prosecutor's office had stopped doing enforcement on felonies, so anything that was referred out to the Attorney General's. So one thing we wanted to make sure is that we weren't stepping on anybody's toes, and when we met individually with the Attorney General's office, they guaranteed there's enough cases to go around for everybody. So we have expressed and sat down with them and talked about the fact that our perimeters are $5,000 and more, sometimes little. I look at it as a case-on-case basis. Is there monthly meetings? No, there hasn't been, but there have been a couple meetings, and maybe that's something we need to look forward to doing more often and see if there's more of a resolution we can get between all three of us working together.
Well, at the end, I've got a proposal that I'm hoping is going to help with that. Another question, when the prosecutor's office issues a warrant for a rearage, does the sheriff's department go out and pick them up?
And that is an issue.
I could ask the sheriff that question, but I'll ask you.
That is an issue that we've had.
Could you answer that again, please?
That's an issue that we've had. The fact is that we don't have an enforcement team. The enforcement team used to be at the front of the court, and I believe that they would take out jackets and look for people and then arrest them. However, at this point in time, the only resources we have is that we unfortunately have to wait for somebody to get pulled over and picked up. And that is one of the reasons why my team works so hard to try to get compliance, because we know it could take some time to get somebody pulled over or locked up, or and so then that would only prolong the money going to the families, and it would, you know, prolong the amount only getting larger and larger. We have had some police forces where we've called directly and given addresses, and they were able to cooperate and go and pick up the individual for us.
Well, I'll say this, and I'll say it with Tony in the room, that's totally unacceptable. When a warrant's been issued and you have children, and I'll give you a story. A very good friend of mine, husband owes $58,000, has not paid a dime in 11 years. She lost her house, she lost her car. Her and the two grandchildren had to move in with the grandparents. And most of us that are grandparents that have our children in this situation, if we can, are going to do whatever we can to make sure they're taken care of. Well, what that is doing to the grandparents is it is bankrupting them. their entire retirement is being spent that they work 35 years to obtain in taking care of their grandchildren and their daughter. And she's working 2 jobs. It's not that she's not working. And there's more horror stories. I've been contacted by other commissioners who have been contacted by parents that are caught in this situation. And I heard you say it's a work in progress. This is not a new situation here. The friend of the court I looked had 105 people in their budget. We added to the budget last year in order to deal with this situation. I think we added to the sheriff's department to deal with this situation because kids are suffering. You guys know it, we know it, and if there's a crisis situation that needs to be put into focus, this is one of them. So I'm going to ask the permission of the chair, Chair Brown, that we form a subcommittee of commissioners and every principal, and I can supplement one story with another. Once a check was issued, it took 12 days to get from this building to 21 Mile Road. I could walk it there faster than that, and I'm not a good walker. We need to deal with this in Macomb County. Oakland County's got a system. I've talked to people over there. It's similar but different than ours. There's a crisis in this county that we're all better than this as commissioners. We are better. Our whole administration in the county is better than this. So I applaud what you guys have done to date. I mean, a year ago, you weren't going to be standing here telling us you collected $323,000. So that's a positive step. There's many more that can be taken to streamline this process, or more importantly, hold people accountable. We all talk accountability and transparency. That's what is needed here. I don't want to hear there's a rift between one department and another, and administration and the commissioners. Baloney. Let's fix this. This is the time. We are entering into a budget. Either departments step up and deal with the situation, or we start forming other departments, or we start reducing headcount. I've already told the chairman, if things aren't improved by the time we vote on the budget, I'm not going to vote for certain departments' budgets because this needs to be addressed. So, without objection, I would like to ask Chair Brown to form a subcommittee of all the principals. When you got 17 people touching a check to travel 2 miles, there's something wrong with, now keep in mind, this is a parent that has been waiting 11 years to get a check. We get it, and it takes 17 days to get to them, and it had been postponed 41 times. I'm personally involved in a situation like this. I cannot believe, well, I should, that government functions this way. We are here to service the residents of Macomb County and do what's right for them. We all want to do what's right. It's not working. So I didn't want to lay all this on you, but this is an opportunity. You see what can be done with 3 people? That's mind-boggling to me. We would not have had that money a year ago. So I'm making that suggestion to our chairman. I welcome any members of the commissioners that would like to serve on it. I know Commissioner Kraft's got community mental health over there to worry about, but I welcome the opportunity to bring all the principals in. And when you're talking 17 different departments, that's mind-boggling. Plus, that didn't even include our chief judge and all the judges that are involved in this. So My recommendation is we do something about it.
We're on board for anything. We have given
Well, I didn't
110% of
figure
our
you'd be
time.
the problem. So, Chairman, I'm making that recommendation. Thank you.
Thank
That's all I have, Chairman.
Very well said, Mr. Hall, I totally agree. Very
Thank you.
well said. Okay, we have Commissioner Zinner.
Thank you, Chair. Do you think that one investigator is enough for the work that has to be done?
We could always use more. The wonderful thing about having Ms. Banzella is she is able to further investigate the claims. And I can't tell you how many stories we have where for years, the custodial parent has made the allegations that the non-custodial parent is gainfully employed, working under the table, owns businesses, food trucks. You could only imagine the things that we have found. Having her and having that information so that I'm able to actually call the person out when I speak to them, it has just changed everything 100%. So I do think having another investigator and more staff, I believe that that would just increase the numbers that we could be able to collect and moving forward and getting more money for the kids of Macomb County. I do think the more that we increase the people that work on it, the better that we are.
And if I can add, we are in fair disclosure going to be coming before you next month and requesting another investigator so that we can build this and get even more success for the kids of Macomb County.
Sounds logical to me. Thank you very much for what you do. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Did I understand you right, that you said there's 11,000 cases that are $5,000 in the rears or more?
Approximately, when we run the report, just taking into consideration, we just plug in the numbers of anything over $5,000, but it expands over all those years. I believe last year, when we were able to take the time to kind of narrow it down a little bit more, we were close to probably about more 7,500. However, when I looked this morning, we know every year numbers are gained. So that's the number I seen this morning.
Well, just some quick math. I applaud your efforts of getting the 324,000. But $5,000 minimum times 11,000 is $55 million floating around, and that's minimum. It could be double that is floating around out there that the kids in Macomb County could use. We need to do something about that. That's way too much in arrears.
If I could address your question, Commissioner, the reason why we thought about this was I went to a training conference and a prosecutor in Indiana had started a unit like this. And so the first year he did in collections about 400,000 and then was able to build and expand.
Amy did it.
It was Jamie. I seen it was him.
So I'm hopeful that maybe years going forward, we'll be able to make more of a dent and make a difference. And also to other commissioners' questions, I've, reached out to, our friend of the court, I had conversations with Mr. Blum, I talked to him this morning, he saw that we were coming here. I would love for them to work, more hand in hand in the collection of these cases. Their stance is that they have to walk a fine line with enforcement and they don't feel they're able to do what we do, that they don't have our stick of, indicating if you don't come on a payment plan with us, then we're gonna prosecute you because under the law we can. So we would love to incorporate the friend of the court and work more closely with them in these cases.
Well, I think you have a good strategy, starting with the people down at the 5,000 level before they get to where they can't deal with it, because if it's too much, they'll throw up their hands and try to look for another way. But if they can get you off their back for a few $1,000s, they're more likely to do it. So thank you.
I think if I can elaborate on that, it's also the parents, the custodial parents. Once they've been through this process so many times and they just get adjournments or they find out that there's a warrant for their arrest, so there's no further action that they can take, they also give up. They also need to have another avenue, which is us, which is maybe not the Attorney General's office. We're local. We have our own felony hotline, as funny as that just sounded. She personally speaks to them, works the file, and then, we call them within, I would say, probably 48 hours is our turnaround.
One last question. You said 11,000 people are in the rears for 5,000 or more. Apart from them, do you know how many people are paying child support in Macomb County that are paying?
I don't know, and I apologize,
I
but I
was
can
looking
have
to
it.
see if it's like half or non-compliant or 10% or whatever.
Run a report and get that.
I'd like to know how many are paying child support and how many are not. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Chair.
Look, Commissioner Nocito?
Thank you, Chair. So my question is, like your numbers, let's say if someone's from Macomb County and they move to Ohio, would you guys still be pursuing them? Like, how does that work?
So we do take that in consideration because we don't extradite. We don't have a budget for extradition at this point in time that would allow us to address that kind of an issue. We talk to the custodial parent about how often are they here? How do they exercise visitation? Are they here every month? Are they here every weekend? What's the possibility of them getting stopped? And then we kind of put it in their hands a little bit. And we explain to them, listen, if they get stopped in Ohio, our hands may be tied. However, if they get stopped here, obviously we can do something about it. What we then do, take the time to walk them through the Attorney General's application and kind of put it in their hands and see, because I believe the Attorney General's office will extradite.
And what about the reverse? Like if someone owes money from Ohio and they come to Macomb County,
I definitely would go after
you
them.
would definitely go after them?
Yes, I would.
All right, thank you.
All set, Commissioner? All set? Commissioner Hall, your name's up again?
Yep.
Yep, go ahead.
I just wanted to add an addendum to your statement. It is about the kids in Macomb County, but it's also about the parent trying to raise the children, and it's also about the grandparents who accept the responsibility of making sure their children and grandchildren are safe as well. So there's multiple entities throughout our population, and it's not just Macomb County, it's just a societal issue right now. And we have an opportunity to find a path to deal with it. But the entities involved, if just look at heritage, children, parent, grandparents, if they can. And when I heard one of my close friends was going bankrupt, it broke my heart. So that's all I have, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Well, thank you very much for your report. And again, Commissioner Hall, I think you've got a wonderful idea, and I think we should put it into fruition and get it together.
Thank you.
I now have a motion for receive and file. If you would please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. I'm going to back up a little bit. Apparently, I didn't close public participation, and I understand there are people there that would like to speak. They don't call me Speedy for anything. So I'm going to go to, I'm sorry. I'm going to go to public participation again. Those wishing to speak on any items on the agenda, please come forward to the podium. Don't hesitate, or I'll close it again. Go ahead, sir. Can I have your name, please?
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Hoska. I'm the fire chief from the Ray Township Fire Department. I'm speaking in support of the items that Director Elsey from the Contact Center is going to be presenting to you in a near few minutes. Thank you very much for bringing us on board to Comtech. As you know, we have been on Comtech for roughly about a month. 1 month, we have knocked our response time down by 5 minutes. Doesn't sound like a lot. Heart tissue dies in 4 to 6 minutes. A structure fire starts to double in size in old construction in 30 seconds, newer construction, 17 seconds. So that five minutes that we've knocked off, we've saved lives. As you start looking at the EMD, as Director Condino was speaking about, it's about that dispatcher taking that call, getting the pre-arrival instructions. That needs to be top line, new technology, up to date on a daily basis. Medical and fire changes on a daily basis. Yesterday we had a gentleman go down cardiac arrest, and we'll get too much into it, but 7 minutes I had a truck on scene. Over a month ago, that would have been 12 to 14 minutes I would have had a truck on scene. The dispatcher or the call taker was able to calm the family down to begin CPR. A registered nurse had to do CPR on her grandfather for the very first time. That dispatcher on the other end of the line was able to calm the situation down from miles away to begin CPR, giving that man early CPR, which is crucial in saving someone who's having a cardiac event. So seconds count. We need to stay on top of technology. We need to keep our forward thought on software and equipment to our dispatchers crucially need, which helps us in the field. We need time. And The jewel in Macomb County, as we call it, Ray Township, little old rural Ray Township, we're on technology. We are forefront in the fire service with dispatching services alone. The mapping, which needs to be updated, is spot on. The mapping that the dispatchers use puts my trucks right on an address, not Google. Google will get us lost, believe it or not. So to update that software is a crucial need, not only for my firefighters, but for the constituents of Macomb County. We have made Ray Township a safer place to live by going on ComTech and having certified EMD dispatchers giving concise instructions to somebody to do CPR. A layperson can be doing CPR by our dispatchers. We have phenomenal staff. We need to keep them educated, equipped to make Macomb County one of the premier dispatchers, not in the state, but in the country. I've trained with a lot of different departments around the country. I tell them what ComTech is, and they are in awe. We need to stay in the forefront. We need to take Macomb County ComTech Center and make it the premier dispatch center of the United States of America. We will blow FDNY away. So please take consideration, our dispatchers, the constituents, our residents, they expect our services to be top-notch. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. I'm going to open it up. There are some more speakers, I know. Please don't be bashful. That's it? Okay, with no other speakers, I'm going to close public participation. I'm going to move on to department recommendations. Item 6A is a purchase from West Publishing Corporation, Thomson Reuters, online legal research tool for $51,632.38, a 5-year total paid monthly. I got Thomas Tomko, our public defender. I need a motion to move this full board.
So moved by Nard.
Support, Wallace?
I have a motion by Commissioner Nard, supported by Commissioner Wallace. Mr. Tomko, you're up.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me today. What we're seeking today is ability to enter into a contract. This is with West Publishing. West Publishing is a service where we have access to cases to do legal research so that we can prepare proper briefs, make proper arguments. This is a contract that really goes over a course of 5 years. The total $51,000. It'll be paid in increments, monthly increments, and it's going to support the office. The office currently, we have 9 attorneys, and we're scheduled with grant funding to have up to 21 attorneys. So this contract will, of course, support our mission. Our mission is, of course, to provide quality indigent defense to persons charged with crimes. We're asking for your approval.
Thank you, sir. We do have some questions from some of the commissioners. I have Mr. Commissioner Sabatini. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Tom. Just a quick question on this. The current grant expires at a certain date, and this contract is going to take us through that date, I believe, with an anticipated grant coming. Is that correct?
Our grant, it's a renewable grant each year, and it's a 1-year period. It's a fiscal year, begins October 1st and September 30th. So the current contract that we have with West Publishing expires this month. So we're looking to renew beginning now and continuing for 5 years. Again, the grant money is already secured for the next fiscal year, and it will continue to be secured each year thereafter in successive grants.
Okay. I'm just curious with this, I would assume this is just a licensing. We have so many users that use the service, correct?
That's correct.
Why are we doing a 5-year term then? Why don't we just pay it monthly as needed?
If we went on a monthly or really be an annual contract, we went on an annual basis, typically what happens is you're paying far in excess of what you would normally pay. By locking in the price for 5 years, there's a little bit of an escalation each year. It's a percentage. You stay below what a new contract would be each year. So by entering into a 5-year contract, you're getting savings.
So what you're saying is the 4% escalation clause each year, this would be a savings by doing a 5-year term?
Yes, because what happens typically, retail-wise with no escalation, just having a contract from year to year, it increases by more than 4% each year.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Tomko, thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no speakers, we have a motion in support. Please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Item B is a budget amendment. Circuit Court Fiscal Grant Fund Strategic Plan Project, $80,000. We have Susan Zabel, Court Finance Director. I need a motion to move to full board, please.
Move Hall.
Support Nard.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hall and support by Commissioner Zinner. Ms. Sable, you're up.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The court has received a grant, and we're here to get a budget amendment to get it into our grant fund for a strategic planning project. And I did put the details in the motion, and if anyone has any specific questions, we can speak to those.
Thank you. Is there a question? Oh, now I see it.
You like to
Commissioner
recognize me,
Sabatini,
Chair?
sorry.
I
Move
do
a
have a
little
question.
faster.
My
Do it,
name
I'm
is
speeding.
there.
Move a little faster. Commissioner Sabatini, please.
Hey, Susan, quick question on this. So what is the plan?
The strategic plan? Well, we're working on it. It's to implement a strategic plan for the courts. Blah, blah, blah. Facilitate a deliberate process to determine organizational values, mission, vision, goals, and objectives for the courts. Basically, to do some succession planning, sort of like a 5-year plan of where the courts are gonna go
So you got a $49,000 grant.
from the grant, yep.
We have professional services of $80,000.
There's some matching money that's coming out of the circuit court budget, from lab salaries. And then there's some in-kind money.
So we have some savings in the salary line items that you're
Yes.
using to
Yep.
accomplish this. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Seeing no other speakers, we have a motion and support. Please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Item C is also a budget amendment from the clerk's office, an increase in jury room budget for contracted jury summons letters in the amount of $165,700. I think we're going to have Clerk Forlini here, but I think Brian's going to fill his shoes pretty good. Must be an expensive envelopes for $165. Brian, I need a motion and support to move this to full board, please.
Support, Nard.
I'll make the motion.
Commissioner Hall made the motion. Commissioner Nard supported.
Thank you, Commissioner Romano. Thank you, Commissioners. I'm here today on behalf of Clerk Forlini to speak with you about the budget amendment. There are two parts to this budget increase that we're asking for. Of the $165,000, $6,000 of it is actually an increase in our budget for 2023. The purpose for that increase is that the new contract for the system that we use to send out the jury summons letters, which the board passed and approved in 2022, increased the cost per letter that we send out of 6 cents. And when we did the budgeting for 2023, we did not include that increase. The second part, which is the larger part, are expenses that the jury commission incurred in the year 2022 and a small fraction in the year 2021, which have already been paid out of what's called the jury summons prepaid account done through the finance department. And those expenses were never put onto the jury commission budget. They were returned in the form of a positive at the end of the year for the jury commission budget. So in 2022, the jury commission was budgeted for $381,000. We spent $221,000. We returned to the general fund $159,000. Those expenses should have been put into the 2022 budget and were not. So that makes up the other part of the $165,000. If you refer to the sheet in the budget packet that was included when we submitted the amendment, those expenses are all listed out. And I'm happy to answer any questions specifically about any one of those expenses. But with the help of the finance department, this true-up deposit sheet calculates what we're asking for in the budget amendment today.
Brian, let me make sure I understand this.
Yep.
Maybe so there was expenses in 2022, I'm gonna put it simply as I can, that were not paid, and now we have 2023. and somebody waited a year to get paid?
So, no, so it's a prepaid account, and so how it works is, at the beginning of the year, we make a payment to Tyler, which is the contract for this service.
How
So
much do you
they're-
pay them?
Pardon me?
At the beginning of the year, what do you pay them? How much?
75,000.
Go ahead.
So we send them that money, and then every 6 months, twice a year for the 2022 budget season, they send us a report telling us what it was that the expense that we incurred, the number of letters that we sent out at $1.26 a letter. That report then goes up to finance. Finance then takes the money from the prepaid account and moves the expense part of it to the budget for the jury commission. That didn't happen in 2022. How I became aware of this was when I was preparing for the 2024 budget, Clerk Forlini said, "What did we spend in the jury commission, blah, 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 blah." So I started pulling years of the jury commission budget to kind of lay it out for him. And I looked at the jury commission budget for 2022, and I saw in these particular two line items where we were budgeted for 45,000 and 75,000, we spent zero. And I was like, how could we have spent zero? So I went into One Solution, found the check requests for the payments that were made, but it wasn't showing up in the budget. So then I called someone in finance. We figured out that those expenses were not attributed to the budget.
Surprised you got Schmiegel to release that money. I have no other questions. Any commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Sabatini, you're not going to surprise me again, are you? Okay, if no other speakers, oh, I do have to see.
It's okay.
Is there a problem pushing these buttons or what?
Yes,
Commissioner Van Sickle, please.
My question might be more for Mr. Smeagol. These expenses must have been attributed against some line item. So that line item now is going to get money back?
No, the payment that we make to the vendor up front sits on the balance sheet. It's in an asset account. Normally, when we get statements saying they sent out so many jury summons, we draw down on that account on the balance sheet, put it on the income statement. It didn't happen for fiscal '22. So,
To my simple brain, if we are now putting 45,000 and 75,000 against their expense item, when you paid it, it must have been against somebody's expense
no,
item.
it was not. It's
It
put,
wasn't?
it's put on the balance sheet as an asset. Think of prepaid postage. So if you pay the post office $50,000 on account, that's not an expense to your books until you actually mail items out in the mail and draw down on that. So,
I'll have to think about that a little bit.
yeah.
But
So
thank you for your
The
explanation.
money's in the budget, it just didn't, the prepaid didn't get drawn down on,
Okay,
is what happened.
thank you. Thank you, Chair.
You're
My
welcome,
understanding is the
Commissioners.
reason we have to include this in this budget amendment is because the books are already closed for 2022. We can't go back and change the 2022 budget. So it has to go somewhere. This is where it's gonna fall. That's why I wanted to clarify, we're not actually asking for an increase of $165,000 for this budget year. There is a little bit of increase in there, and that's because of the cost of the additional 6 cents on the letters that we send out and the volume.
You all set, Commissioner Van Sickle?
I think so. I'll have to
Thanks,
think
Brian.
about it.
I see no other speakers. We have a motion and support. Please vote. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Item D is professional service agreement, Sacred Heart Rehabilitation, medication-assisted treatment, service, total cost $515,000. We have Ms. Caskey, Director of Community Corrections. I need a motion and support to move this to full board, please. I have a motion from Commissioner Kraft and a support from Commissioner Wallace. Please.
Good afternoon. I'm here to request the approval of the professional services agreement with Sacred Heart for the expansion of the medication-assisted treatment program at the jail that would provide medication, treatment, peer recovery coaching, and transitional services to the community. Sacred Heart is the current provider for the grant-funded MACOSA program, MAP program at the jail, as well as the well past the medical provider at the jail, the expansion MAP program. So this would really allow us to kind of condense those programs and operate more efficiently, and also be able to provide those services to anyone regardless of eligibility. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
I see no speakers. I have a motion and support. Please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item E, which is a maintenance agreement with Tyler Technologies, computer-aided dispatch and records management systems, maintenance and support renewal for $1,123,704.80. I have Miss Elsie Fades, Dispatch Director. I need a motion and support to move this to full board.
So move, Hall.
Support Van Sickle.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hall and support by Commissioner Van Sickle. Miss Elsie, you're up.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Angela Elsie, Dispatch Director for the Sheriff's Office. I am here today with an agreement for our standard software maintenance and support renewal with Tyler Technologies, whom we have been in agreement with for 10 years. Tyler Technologies provides our CAD, which is computer-aided dispatch, as well as our records management system, or RMS. And not only for us in Comtech, but for the Sheriff's Office, Clinton Township Police and Fire Department, Ray Township, Armada Township Fire Department, Washington, Harrison, Sterling Heights, although Sterling Heights is not included in this agreement, Mount Clemens, Macomb Township, and I believe that is, I don't believe I'm missing anyone, but it covers multiple communities and public safety agencies. So this renewal is just to sustain what we're currently using now. And this cost is over the life of 3 years, so we would be invoiced 3 times, once annually for the life of the contract, which would begin January 1, 2024, expiring December 31st of 2026. These costs are initially covered by the Sheriff's Office E911 fund, and then reimbursed by the communities for their cost contribution. So for their part of the maintenance agreement that they are responsible for the software and licenses that they are using. I'll take any questions.
Commissioner Hall, I had your name there and it was removed. You
No,
still want to
she
speak?
answered my question, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you. Is this software only used within Comtech?
No, it is not. For dispatch, as a part of this contract, yes, for dispatch services, but Chesterfield Police Department, their dispatch also uses the same software. They are not a part of our agreement or our consortium. However, the software that we have in Comtech is what's directly connected to the mobile in-car computers in the police and fire vehicles for the communities that we directly service.
Does this contract include tech support?
Yes, 24/7.
And how much tech support do you get on this? The contract is for over $6,000 a week. I'd like to earn $6,000 a week.
Well, Tyler Technologies has always been wonderfully supportive. Anytime that we've had to place a call, they've connected with us at all hours of the day if we've ever had a need. They work really closely with our internal support as well, our subject matter experts from our information technology department, as well as dispatch and the police and fire departments. So we've had incredible support from Tyler.
Do you have any idea how many times a year you call on them for tech support?
I don't know. I unfortunately don't directly oversee those tickets, so I don't have that available. I could get it for you, though.
Are there other competing vendors that have alternative software?
Sure. Yep. We had a different vendor prior to in 2013. However, this was evaluated as the most efficient solution for all of us to collaborate. And at the time when consolidation was happening between the Sheriff's Office, Clinton Township, and Sterling Heights, there was a competitive bid process. And this is what was determined to be the most viable solution that offered the best functionality. And I just got back from a technology conference this morning in Muskegon with over 200 of my colleagues in 911. And I will stand by that we have the best CAD solution there is to offer.
And as far as tech support, this also includes the other communities you listed that use this, that covers all them also.
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Welcome, Commissioner. Commissioner Sabatini, please.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Angela. A couple questions. For the communities that are not part of this and do this independently, if they were to join Comtech or use our services, would they save money?
They could. There's a whole cost proposal and evaluation that goes into that.
Okay. I know this contract expires what's the
December
expiration?
31st.
This year, obviously, and then you've got a 3-year term. More of a question of, I know an upcoming agenda item here, we have a renewal coming up relative to 911 because that's where the funds are coming out of. I guess my question is more as to why are we voting on this before renewal of the funds in the 911 fund there prior to this?
Well, I submitted 3 items for agenda consideration, and how they fell on your agenda was not up to me.
Okay. It's more, I guess it's more of a question, just we're going to approve something, and then if something was not to get approved, we wouldn't have funding for something that we just approved.
This was an
ahead, Chair.
ongoing cost for
Go
10,
ahead.
for 10 years. And when we consolidated dispatch centers, Sterling Heights was already on, it was New World at the time. And for the other 2 agencies, the Sheriff's Office and Clinton Township, we moved off of Columbus and went to New World so we could all work together. So the 10 years is up. I told my staff to get on it. The last thing I want to do is wait to the last minute. So, and the fact that we've taken that funding for Tyler New World out of the sheriff's budget and put it into the 911 budget. So,
And I remember going through the reorganization with New World and the issues that we had there. That was all my questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll have a motion in support. No other speakers. Please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Don't leave, Ange. Item F,
Not even.
Intergovernmental Agreement Amendment, Clinton Township Regional Emergency Dispatch Services, $105,745. Any motion in support to move this full board?
So move, Hall.
Support Van
Nard.
Sickle.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hall, supported by Commissioner Van Sickle. And you're up again, please.
This is a amendment to the intergovernmental agreement that we currently have with Clinton Township for our emergency dispatch services that we provide, directly related to the Tyler Technologies maintenance renewal. So Clinton Township's cost contribution to our contract for January 1st of 2024 through December 31st, so for the calendar year of 2024, is the amount of $105,745. Why we are asking for a intergovernmental agreement amendment is because if you look at the budget worksheet attached to this in your packet, you'll see that there is a new line item that says fire equipment maintenance with that exact total, $105,745. Previously, we just invoiced Clinton Township directly. The Sheriff's Office fiscal analyst would receive the invoice from Tyler Technologies for our annual maintenance cost. She would do the math and then send Clinton Township an invoice. However, with all of the other communities we provide emergency dispatch services for and are part of our Tyler consortium, we invoice them directly through their service agreements, just like this. So this is just streamlining Clinton Township to make sure that they are invoiced just as the other agencies are. And it makes things simpler and just more efficient to have everyone invoice the same. Clinton Township Board did approve this agreement as well and their cost-sharing contribution on Monday night's board meeting.
Thank you. I have a speaker, Commissioner Sabatini.
I'm just full of questions today. Sorry, Board. But Angela, this contract, just so I understand this is a 1-year contract with Clinton Township.
So, no.
No. Okay.
Their service agreements run the length of the dispatcher's collective bargaining agreements. So the dispatcher's current collective bargaining agreement expires December 31st of 2024. So that is why this budget worksheet only has the years 2022, 2023, and 2024 on it.
Correct.
So I can't make an amendment to a contract that's doesn't exist yet. So we'll be taking that for renewal in front of them and
So I'm just trying to understand this. So we just approved a 3-year deal with Tyler. Clinton Township is only paying their portion to the end of '24, but we're still obligated for 3 years with Tyler.
So Clinton Township did approve their 3-year costs at the meeting on Monday night. So even though the intergovernmental agreement amendment is only for the 1 year, because that's the only year of the Tyler 3-year agreement that aligns, they still did agree and approve the 3 years of their cost.
Okay, because
For the
that was
Tyler
kind of my
contribution.
question, because
Sure.
if we're doing a 3-year deal,
Yeah.
shouldn't they be in conjunction with the 3-year
Yeah.
deal?
So those, the 2025, 2026 costs will be included in their contract renewal for those
Great,
years.
thank you
welcome.
so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Zinni.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure exactly what Commissioner Sabatini was talking about here, because I was, the Chair and I were talking a bit. In regard to this, are we speaking about the 911 now?
No.
Yeah, no, I'm done, Chair. Thank you.
Retracts. I see no other speakers. Have a motion in support. Please vote.
Yep. I thought it was,
Okay. Thanks, Angie.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. And now. Item G, Resolution 2023-10988, a resolution to authorize the renewal of the monthly E911 surcharge of 42 cents per month per device. Angie, I'm glad you didn't leave. You can start.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I need a motion, whoops, I need a motion and support to move this full board.
So moved
Board
by
commissioners rather have discussion first.
So moved by
Pleasure, commissioners. Discussion first?
No, presentation.
Going to move it to full board, I need motion and support.
So moved by Nard.
Oh, there's support, okay, I'm sorry.
I don't know if there's support.
Angie, go ahead, I'm not going to move this yet till I hear a discussion from commissioners, go ahead.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Commissioner. So I am here today with a request for the renewal of the county's local E911 surcharge. I am requesting that the board consider a new resolution with no sunset date. In May of last year, the board authorized the collection via Resolution 2022-8083, beginning July 1 of 2022 and ending June 30th of 2024, with a provision for it to be placed on the ballot for the citizens to vote on continuation after that time. By signing a new resolution, PSAPs can start to plan appropriately for the many necessary upgrades and technology enhancements because of guaranteed funding. Although I'm a county employee, I need to make it very clear that I am here in front of you today on behalf of all 9 dispatch centers in Macomb County, the PSAPs that service the communities that you serve. While I will highlight specific needs of the Comtech Center for continued funding, without the security of this fund mechanism, we as a county-wide 911 service cannot continue to plan to take advantage of all of the enhanced and emerging life-saving technologies and a sustainable network that we deserve to be able to function with, and our citizens deserve the best as well. In Michigan 911 statute, Public Act 32 of 1986 as amended requires counties as the local unit of government to hold a county 911 plan. That plan falls under the purview of the Board of Commissioners. That plan requires that system requirements for operational, managerial, technical, and fiscal considerations be included. This board has the most oversight to 911 in the county, and changes to this plan must be approved by this board. Public Act 32 also permits that the collection of a localized E911 fee to support staffing, training, hardware, and software required for efficient 911 emergency services within a designated county or 911 service district. By statute, a fee of up to 42 cents does not require a vote. By state law, this amount is under the purview of the Board of Commissioners. Only a collection exceeding 42 cents and up to the maximum rate of allowable collection of $3 requires voter approval. Like mentioned, it was in May of 2022 that the board sanctioned the collection of the maximum permissible fee of 42 cents via resolution. The resolution, which was enacted on May 12th, authorized the county to levy this fee for 2 collection cycles, each running from July 1st of the current year to June 30th of the following year. The collection periods of a local fee authorized in the resolution were July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2024. This resolution further indicates that after June 30th, 2024, the continued collection will be put to a public vote. The statutory deadline for reporting collecting requires the county to report any changes in that collection to the state by May 15th each year. With the current resolution expiration date of June 30th, if we wait for that to expire before we approach this, this creates a potential funding gap because the only election that the voters could vote in favor or decline at that point, if we waited until June 30th, would be the November presidential election. That is past the May 15th statutory deadline for me to report any change in collection. So with that being said, we would lose an entire year of funding. And these funds really do play a vital role in ongoing and future initiatives. As the scope of responsibilities for our dispatch centers and staff continue to expand, we are met with the challenges of rising operational costs. The revenue from this surcharge has already proven to be invaluable, not only for maintaining essential services, but also for paving the way for new technological advancements, both current and future. These funds have been instrumental in several ongoing and upcoming initiatives, such as our transition that you've all heard me talk about so many times to an advanced 911 network, and the in-progress development of a multi-PSAP phone consortium with 4 of our 9 PSAPs. We're already in planning stages for the next generation 911, which will expand our capabilities to not just receive, but transmit text, images, videos, and live streams between the public, the first responders, and the dispatch centers. Beyond this emerging technology, it's imperative that we continue to improve our caller location systems, ensure seamless system interfaces, and enhance overall reliability. These upgrades are designed to facilitate efficient, timely, and effective emergency responses. These investments that we make in equipment, technology, and training have a direct and immediate impact on the health and safety of our community. Given these critical needs and the tangible benefits that we've already observed, reviewing and renewing the surcharge is essential for both maintaining and elevating the quality of emergency services that we provide and the efficiency at which our dispatchers in this county can do it. The future of emergency services, especially in 911, is advancing at such a rapid rate. Like I mentioned, I just returned from a state technology conference today, and I am consistently amazed by the advancements coming and how this industry is evolving, but also the expectations and the demands of 911 staff. On average, a dispatcher has 30 logins for different solutions that they are required to use and with the expectation of efficiency. As we continue to see additional technology released and enhanced, we're adding clutter, confusion, and frustration, which means exploring cloud-based solutions, means of resource sharing amongst our centers, keeping up with technology that supports automatic call processing and delivery of data from wearable devices or other interactive software is something that we have to be on the forefront of, or we risk falling behind and not meeting the community's expectations rightfully. We must secure sustainable funding. The county PSAPs have utilized the funding primarily for essential upgrades and capital improvements to enhance 911 service. Significant investments are being made in transitioning to a next generation 911 network, which involves the acquisition of new call handling equipment for every dispatch center in the county. Collaborative efforts have been undertaken to work together on a single call handling product procurement to foster fiscal responsibility and efficiency. Funds have been facilitated funds have facilitated the hiring of IT personnel, dispatch personnel, equipment and software purchases for better training management and preparations for forthcoming capital expenditures, including server replacements and radio console upgrades. The emphasis remains on ensuring that the best service delivery to the citizens through diligent research and planning. It's notable that Sarisa Dispatch, which operates independently of municipal departments, has focused its share of the revenue on urgent capital improvement projects, steering clear of allocating it for ongoing expenses due to the uncertainty of the fund's sustainability. The goal is to maintain high standards of service while navigating the financial constraints and varying funding mechanisms of different PSAPs. In your agenda packet, on page 229, the year-to-date summary shows the total revenue generated from the surcharge as of now, which stands at $3,261,437. Oh, I'm sorry, not as, it's the total revenue generated from the surcharge that has not been distributed as of yet, but that has been collected since January 1st of 2023. So this is a year-to-date view that has yet to be distributed. Oh, I'm sorry, including what has been distributed. This is a year-to-date view of the entire collection.
How much money is left? I'm sorry. What do we got left now? One more time.
No, this is everything we've collected.
You've collected
not what
so
we have
far
left.
is-
$3,261,437.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to page 230. This illustrates a comprehensive budget report detailing the surcharge revenue from July 1st of 2022, which is the date we began to collect, to present. So that includes that $3 million that I just fumbled all over. But in total collection, we have generated $5,359,615. Further on page 231, I have delineated the distribution of this revenue across different PSAPs, both in terms of the funds already allocated and the pending amounts set for future distribution. It is essential to note that this data is dynamic. The third quarter revenues are yet to be fully remitted because we're still in Q3 until September 30th. And the fourth quarter collections are still on the horizon. So that signals a prospective increase in these distribution figures. But to provide a precise account, I have segregated the data into two distinct tables. The first table, it should be on your left, 2022 Q3, Q4, and 2023 Q1 distribution is how it's labeled. That details the exact amounts already received by the PSAPs for the total collected for those 3 quarters. That is all the money that has been distributed, so nothing else has been. The second table, captioned remainder to be distributed from 2023, outlines that undistributed revenue collected this calendar year and projecting the sums earmarked for each PSAP in the upcoming distribution based on the formula that we use. And lastly, referring to pages 232 through 234, you'll find the distribution calculation worksheets prepared by our finance department. These documents detail the exact amounts allocated from each of the 3 previously completed quarters. All of this information aims to offer a transparent view of the revenue landscape. I really want to make sure to facilitate a clear understanding of the present standings as well as the anticipated allocations in the future. Scrolling down in your packet on pages 235 and 236, I have included a list of the current Michigan 911 county surcharges as compiled by the Michigan Public Service Commission. The column labeled county charge is the amount that each county is currently assessing for their local fee. Some of you have heard me say this before, but I'd like to highlight that prior to initiating the local collection in Macomb County that the board authorized in 2022, we were the only ones in the state of Michigan without a dedicated revenue stream for 911. There are 83 counties in the state of Michigan and 3 911 service districts. We were the only one at the time, and we were very proud and grateful for the board's authorization. Every other county either had a local surcharge, or if they did not, they had a millage. There are currently 10 counties not assessing a local fee, but they have a 911 millage dedicated for operations. Pages 237 through 245 is a list of every county or 911 service district in Michigan and the way in which they've been approved for collection. I've highlighted all the counties at the current 42-cent rate, all of which were commission enacted. Also notable that all counties currently applying that commission enacted rate of 42 cents have done so through resolution and not through public vote. Like previously mentioned, legal provisions dictate that only a rate above 42 cents and up to the maximum allowable of $3 is required for a vote, but an adjustment in the resolution to allow for continued collection of what the residents are already paying for 911 service is what we're asking for today. I know there has been concern for the possibility of misusing these funds, and that is why I want to be so transparent in what we currently have, what we've distributed, what each PSAP has received, because I also want to make it very clear that fee diversion is not allowed, and there are a lot of eyes on this money, and it's not just internally. There is an annual reporting process as well as a requirement for an independent audit of these 911 accounts. I, as the county coordinator, am required to facilitate that and report all revenues and expenditures on a yearly basis by the statutory deadline of May 15th on behalf of all 9 of our dispatch centers in the county. The county 911 plan that falls under the purview of the board was amended by commission resolution on April 17th, 2001. That amendment established a wireless oversight committee. That committee has the responsibility to distribute the funds in accordance with the statutory requirements and also serves as an oversight for expenditures and revenue. I have included the financial reporting form that the Wireless Oversight Committee created to ensure that these monies are being spent as allowed. I've also included language from the State 911 Committee's policy for compliance reviews. And this is another review that is in place to ensure that counties and PSAPs are in compliance with allowable expenses of this money as outlined in Public Act 32. So I do hope that those give the board satisfaction in just how many eyes are on this revenue and its expenses. If the reports consistently show that we are collecting more money than what we need for our operations in Macomb County, we would be required by the state of Michigan under Public Act 32 to reevaluate and reduce our rate below 42 cents. Macomb County is not and will not be collecting more than what it should for 911 at that rate. Also in Public Act 32 and under the purview of the board, if at any point that the board feels as though we are collecting too much, even though maybe by state guidelines that we are not, or if the board decides that they'd like to end the funding, it doesn't matter if there's a sunset date on the resolution or not, you always have the authorization to stop that collection. In light of the details that I've shared and the transparent financial roadmap delineated in your agenda, it's clear that the 911 surcharge serves as a cornerstone in our emergency service operations. This surcharge is not just a fee. It is a commitment to the well-being and safety of our community, a pledge to uphold dedicated and efficient emergency services. As we stand on the cusp of technological advancements that promise to redefine the contours of 911 operations, it is incumbent upon us to ensure that we have financial backing to support this growth. We are not seeking to impose a burden on our citizens, but to continue a practice that secures the infrastructure that binds our community and public safety agencies together. This surcharge is not merely a financial tool. It is an endorsement of our dedication as a county to safeguarding our communities, a testimony to our foresight in adapting to the evolving demands of emergency services, and most fundamentally, it is a reflection of the commitment to the people that we are here to serve. I will take any questions.
Thank you, Angie. Angie and I had a long discussion this morning regarding this 911 surcharge. All of my Vicky, incidentally, I thought you were good. You don't think you hold a handle to this young lady?
I cannot.
Outstanding report, Angie, outstanding. The only question I did have, and I think you'd answer this, and I think you, if you will answer this for the rest of the commissioners, the 911 surcharge, is there an exception to that as far as for people with 6, 7 children that have phones in their homes, and are you paying each one? And you mentioned it to me, but if you would share that with the rest of the commissioners?
Yeah, that's a great question. If a customer has multiple lines, up to 10 lines, they will be charged a separate 911 fee for any device after that. So if a customer has up to 10 lines or ways to use a device that can call 911, they'll be charged the service fee on those 10 devices. But any additional devices after 10, in groups of 10, they're only charged for one. So for example, if you were a business that had 200 phones, you are paying for 29 phone lines because you're paying for the first 10, and then every 10 after that are grouped into one service charge of 42 cents or whatever the fee that you're assessing is.
Good, thank you, Angie. You might as well get a chair because I see a lot of questions from a lot.
That's okay.
And I will, and some water, yeah. I'll start with Commissioner Song, if you would, please.
Thank you, Chair. And first of all, I just want to thank you and all of our first responders for everything that you do. You've certainly made your case as to how critical, the service is. I'm also very pleased to hear how the funding has been used in a way that has benefited all of the municipalities in terms of technology infrastructure upgrades. I supported this in the past. I do plan on supporting it again, but I am concerned with the initial writing of the resolution in that it doesn't really allow for us to put this on the ballot. And so could you just clarify, did we miss the deadline for this year? Or
no, but that is a good question. So the reason I'm bringing that in front of you today, right, even though it doesn't expire until June 30th, is because with the current expiration date of the resolution, June 30th of 2024, if we were to wait for that date to approach any sooner, or potentially wait for that date to come at all, the only ballot we could put it on following that expiration date would be the presidential, right? And that's November. So
there would be a gap between June to November, is that
there
what
would
you're
actually be a
indicating?
gap between June 30th of 2024 through
The
June
following
30th of 2025.
Okay.
Because we cannot report any collection to the state until May 15th, because you have to report collection for an entire collection period. So if this went in front of the voters in November and it did pass, we would still not collect any funds until July 1st of 2025. So we would lose
So-
an entire year.
So when this came before us last year, I think I was under the impression that we would eventually take it to the voters to vote on this. And I'm an advocate in our democracy. I think it's important for us to allow the voters to make that decision. And let me just say, none of my constituents have made phone calls or emails upset about this 42 cents. So I don't think that, this is not an uproar at all. But I think as a board, we'd be doing a disservice to our constituents if we just continue to approve this resolution in perpetuity as opposed to taking it to the voters. Vicki, did you want to say something?
Yeah, sorry, if I can just expand on that. We did, obviously, we were aware of that and bringing it to you now and the time consideration. So we weren't quite sure what to do. So we have our purview, obviously, right, is just to renew. We understand what the board did and what many members of the board would like to do with the millage. So in bringing items, do you bring one to the board? Do you bring both to the board at the same time? We met with a few commissioners ahead of time as part of our being communicative, asking what might be the best approach. We were offered the recommendation of just bringing the renewal, knowing that technically, if it was the board's purview, putting it on the ballot is the board's purview, not as a department bringing that forward. So we have the language for you if that's what you choose to do. We believe that it would align with, and there'd still be time, at next month's board meeting, you could put the millage on, have the language approved, and make it in time for the February presidential election. So that is why we are coming now. And it is, I will say, it's not our offering of both solutions, but I think there's your answer, Commissioner, that of the timing and why it's coming now.
Got it.
And how it
Thank you,
would
Vicki.
kind of work.
Thank you, Angie. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Lucido?
Thank you, Chair. So I have one quick question. So the money that's being funded, it's going to the 11 different agencies in Macomb County, right? You said 11 different
9,
agencies?
yep.
Okay. And most of it's being used for technology?
No, it can be used for staffing,
Okay.
for hardware, software, capital improvements, operational costs. So any of the allowable expenses within the 911 statute.
Well, I mean, as someone who has depended on the 911 services, I'm definitely going to support this going forward. I know how important it is, not only to me and as to my family personally, because it's been used multiple times, but to my constituents, who a lot of them, I mean, I come probably, I don't think a majority of them in my area would ever hesitate to know that this 42 cents could save someone's life by having the proper technology, training to all those important 911 operators when they call, to make sure that they have those resources available to them, to make sure that people are getting the help. So I do want to say I will support this. I think it's very, very important to make sure that we're putting the health and well-being of all of our residents before anything else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Zinner?
Thank you, Chair. I thought the fire chief, I assume he was a fire chief, I think he said that when he was here. I thought that was very interesting about how the technology is innovative and helpful. I've been a licensed practical nurse for 51 years. I worked acute care. Patients from car accidents, in those days, they could be on the same unit, a few doors down from each other. One would have a chest problem, one would have a broken leg. So I know what it's like for people to come in like that, taking care of heart attack victims. I know what that acute time period is. In real life, I would take care of people who had acute situations, and by myself, you got used to it. It's nice when 6 people come and take over. So when this happened a year ago, the 42 cents I didn't think was necessarily a lot of money. The $5 that it could go to, I thought was a lot of money. And I voted for it because I thought that we should be able to, at least one time, upgrade the fire equipment, the trucks, the cost that was explained to us, all the costs, whatever that you guys could get out of it. I was happy about that. And I received a lot of calls from people. Sometimes people would call me for something and they would say, "Oh, did you vote for that 42 cents? And I'd say, "Yes, I did." And they say, "Well, why did you do that?" And I explained, and they said, "Oh." And I'd say, "Well, how do you feel about it now?" And they say, "Well," I said, "I felt that for emergencies, things should be the way it should be for citizens." And they seemed good about that. But a lot of people, they had their numbers, and they said, "What about when it goes to $5? And here I see it could go to $3. And I know that a lot of people, if I vote for this, are going to say, "You voted for something that could go to $3 on my phone and my wife's phone." And Michigan is in a situation now where our costs are high. They could get higher, of course, and we may not have jobs. Everything you watch the news, everything is very, very sketchy right now. Even wealthy people, nice wealthy people, who have helped people all their lives with that cost. They said, you know, I don't mind helping people. I like helping people, but I don't like the government making me help people. That person said to me, he was a nice man, really nice man. He said, you know, I've never used EMS. And I'm thinking, well, I hope you never have to. But this extra $3 on there, isn't that on there?
If I could just clarify, we're not asking for $3. We're just asking for a continuation of the 42 cents that the board has the authorization to approve. I was just trying to highlight that counties, under Public Act 32, we could collect up to $3,
Right.
but anything over 42 cents has to go to a vote. So the maximum a board can approve is 42 cents or below.
Right. I'm going to have to be a no, because I know people, citizens, a lot of citizens are going to be very concerned about that if it goes to a vote. Thank you very much for all you do, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. If I may just take a moment here directly to Commissioner Zinner, so that, and I'm sure you're aware, I just want to make sure that it's totally understood.
Yes.
The money that they're asking for, this 42 cents, they cannot automatically raise that to $3 at their own discretion.
I understand
It stays
that.
at 42 cents until they come back to us at a later date and say, listen, we need some additional funds.
I understand
So as of today, it's only that they're asking for is 40. I just want to make sure you got it.
I got it.
Got it. Okay, I'm sorry. Just want to make sure you have it.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Chair,
you. Welcome.
may I
have-
make a point of clarification as well?
Sure.
In addition to what you just explained, we can't even come back and say, we need more funds, will you increase it? We'd have to come to you and say, please consider putting an increase on a ballot.
I have Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Angela, for me, it almost feels like Groundhog Day when we
Yeah,
talk about
yeah.
this issue. Vicky, the sheriff,
Same
from that-
seat.
same seat, same line of eyesight, same glares. But I'm kidding, Sheriff. But I want to thank you for all the information. The previous times, this time, I did have a question about the county surcharge sheet that you answered. But I do have a follow-up to that with the county millages. I was looking at the breakdown and noticed that, one of the selling points last time was Macomb was one of the only ones, good sell. But this time there's now, 10 or so, and you mentioned millages, but when I go down to the spreadsheets even further with the more details, it doesn't list millage or what it is. Is there a reason for that? I know you didn't put this together, did you?
I did.
Did you put this together?
Oh, no, I didn't put that specific sheet together.
Okay.
The packet.
Because I
So-
saw that the Public Service Commission has this information and
Yes,
things
they
like that,
compile
so,
that. Yeah.
okay.
So it actually, and I don't have the page number, but if you scroll down really far,
I'm trying.
it would definitely be at the end of Public Act. Okay, so when you get to the end of the law in your packet, there is the annual report to the legislature.
Okay.
And there are multiple sheets that look like this
Okay.
in there. And it's every county and 911 service district. And, 287. Thank you,
Okay.
Vic, page 287.
My pages are failing to load, so I will look at that later, but it's nice to know that they're in there so I can take a look at
Yes.
them. Thank
So
you,
you
Angela.
will notice, though, that there is one county that starts with a K, I just don't want to call them out, that does not show any revenue for a local 911 fee or millage receipts, and that is because that county does not have 911 service. They contract with Michigan State Police, so they cannot collect anything because they don't have 911 service to fund. So that is the only reason that there is a gap there. I verified that with the state 911 office, just to make sure I was giving you accurate information that we truly would still be the only.
Thank you. I appreciate
welcome.
that. I'll take a look at that later. My second question is on the very last page of our packet is the state of Michigan map with the next gen, I don't have my notes in front of me, the next gen 911 that's been fully implemented. And there's us, and then it looks like a section of Wayne. And that was updated end of last year, correct? So where are we at now in that process?
We are making really good progress, but the bid process and the discovery and the due diligence takes a long time. When you are talking a 911 network that is millions of dollars that the state surcharge, luckily right now can sustain supporting, because if not, we have to. But also supporting a county of almost 900,000 people, we want to make sure we're picking the best of the best.
Yes.
So we did go out to bid. We do have responses. We're actively in the review and scoring of those right now. My hope is to bring that in front of you before the end of the year.
And my last thing, it's not a question for you, maybe a little bit of a rant, but bear with me. So we would all agree that 911 is an essential service, right? All of us, everybody in this room, everybody in this county. So why aren't we prioritizing that as a board, as a county, to pay for these things? And I know that with the surcharge, it gets dispersed among the different areas. I've got my guy back there from Chesterfield sitting in the back, and he hates me for this every time this comes up. But if it's such a priority to the county, to local municipalities, to the citizens of this county, why aren't we making it a priority when we budget?
Yep.
Because we can put funding for the county, for ComTech, from the general fund to that budget for E911 services. And in my local municipalities, they can do the same thing. They can prioritize that without adding additional tax dollars to the folks, to our residents. Because that's essentially, I've said this every single time, this is a tax. We literally created a brand new tax for this county. And even though it's called a renewal, if we let this drop off, that tax would disappear. So we're continuing a tax that we literally created. And I just don't think that's the correct way to go. And I know the administration and I have butted heads over various issues for this topic. It's not about the importance of what we're trying to do. 911 is obviously an essential service. It's how we get there, how we get to the funding of that essential service. So that's why I will be a no on this. It's not because I'm opposed to 911 and everything that you guys do. It's how we're getting to that point. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
May
Mr.
I
Chair.
speak to that?
Yes, you may, go ahead.
I just want to also say, this would more or less be considered a fee and not a tax, because a tax is a mandatory payment to a government and then collected broadly to all citizens. And a fee is a payment for a specific service charged only to people that use that service, right? So that's why I try to be really picky with that word. But also, I really appreciate that perspective that you have, Commissioner. But just because other communities can do that, it doesn't mean that they will. It doesn't mean that the Village of Romeo or that Chesterfield Township will allocate funding. And I can tell you that my good friend and colleague, who is the executive director of Sarisa Dispatch, doesn't have access to general funds. And they're a 911 authority. They're not part of a municipality. So they rely on their contractual agreements that they have with the 4 communities that they service, and the state surcharge, and now this. But he's trying to make sure he can sustain his operations without budgeting in a sustainable funding source.
Sure. I totally understand that. Just from a county perspective, we're trying to figure out how to find $50 million for a central intake project and then $50 million for a Verculen project that just popped up. So I'm just saying there's money out there, and with inflation rates as high as they are and the high costs of everything there are, I mean, I know 40 cents, it's really not a lot. And if you have multiple people in the home, it's under $1 a month or about $1, $2 a month, but still every little bit makes a difference. So again, thank you. I appreciate everything, all the info. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hall.
Angela, first of all, thank you. I think you get the award for the most complicated presentation that I've been here. I want to take Commissioner Kraft's statement and broaden it. You indicated a gap may occur from the election cycle to 2024 November. If that gap does occur, what happens?
If that gap occurs from a sheriff's office perspective, we will no longer have approximately $2.8 million dedicated to 911 service. So with any projects we have planned, which I mentioned, we are in the process of trying to secure a new phone system that we are required to have to be compatible with the new network. I'm going to need funds specifically for that, that I don't currently have budgeted or allocated for now because we're in the discovery and procurement process. So I will be coming to the board and saying potentially for different necessary enhancements, up to $2.8 million that we have potentially lost out on collecting. In addition to that, I have several PSAPs that have reported they have funded positions with this. If they don't have money to fund those positions, there's no guarantee that there's general fund monies from their local communities to continue to fund those positions. One community hired 3 new dispatchers. I would hope, I know that the Board of Commissioners would give us the general fund monies to fund that. I funded 2 IT positions, but the local communities, or the PSAPs, the municipal departments they don't have access to the county general fund monies, and there's no guarantee that their local communities would fund those positions that they have been able to put in place to increase their staffing or increase their support within their dispatch center. So they could potentially have to lay people off.
So there's 2 potential impacts. One is on the county, that you're gonna come back here.
Yes.
And ask for us to fund it. The second potential impact, which is equally concerning, is Chesterfield is going to have to come up with additional funding to be able to pay for your services. So you've got a tax dollar. The county collects tax dollars. The municipality collects tax dollars. Those 2 are, one's under our jurisdiction and one's under the city's jurisdiction. But they're still our constituents' tax dollars. Or you have a 42-cent fee here. That's the constituents' money. Not a tax, but it's their money. But this pile of money over here is provided by our constituents. The 42 cents is provided by the constituents. And I was trying to focus in on your page 24 here, where you have highlighted the general fund, and I agree with Commissioner Kraft. If we want to disperse with this fund, put it into the general fund and make it part of the budget. But that doesn't relieve the local municipality from their obligation to pay you, to pay the county. So there's 2 piles here. There's 2 arguments. 42 cents is the constituents' money, but so is the tax money they pay the county and the tax money they pay the municipalities. Because if Chesterfield can't get an approval to pay for Comtech, they may have to opt out, or they're going to have to pass their own millage to be able to pay you. Those are the only 2 options I see, because we did an in-depth study in Roseville on how to deal with this. Secondly, I agree with this statement, we're a democracy, but we're also elected officials to represent that democracy and are charged with making hard decisions. This is a hard decision. The easy decision is no, we're not going to renew this. The hard decision, as Commissioner Zinner indicated, is explaining to your constituents why you voted yes. My experience was the exact opposite. It was supported by our police chief, it was supported by our mayor, it was supported by our council, and I could explain to somebody as a user of 911 on multiple occasions, that could have saved my dad's life, because they were there in 2 minutes and 28 seconds. If that's not available, it's not a fear-mongering tactic, Chesterfield's going to have to come up with a way to do that. So it's the dollar. Where is the dollar? We're elected to make tough decisions. That's what our job is. Do I want to pay this? I said it last time. Nope. You were right, Commissioner Kraft. We all recognize the need. We all know that the service is critical and that it's something that has to be there. So it gets down to, where is the money gonna come from? We can pull it out of the general fund. I said I'm not objectionable to doing that. But if we're gonna do that, it better be in this budget, because you can't take the chance going into the November 24 election that this money's not gonna be available. And you're gonna have to cut services or go back to the municipalities and say, you guys have to fork up more. I really think that's a tougher explanation than explaining why there's a 42-cent fee. But that's just my opinion. So, again, thank you for this very intensive report.
Okay.
Done, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you. I just want to comment on the fee tax. A fee is something, when you do something, you pay for it. A tax is something you have to pay, everybody has to pay. So to me, it's a tax. Why are landlines not included?
Landlines are assessed through the state surcharge, the 25 cents.
Okay, so they are included.
Yes, but that money is remitted directly to the state of Michigan, and then the state of Michigan disperses that money to all of the counties on a quarterly basis.
Does your group get
portion.
any of that money?
Yes.
And in your assessment, how much of the 25 cents do you get?
We receive, last year we collected in total, and when I say we, I mean between all 9 PSAPs, because it's based on population, it's per capita, $1.3 million. So approximately 48,000 of that is what was distributed to 8 dispatch centers. So for example, I think Romeo only gets about $8,000 of that every year.
So landlines get a quarter and cell phones get 42 cents.
Every cell phone in the state, everyone already pays a 25
In Macomb
cent.
County.
Well, statewide, under Public Act 32, you're assessed a 25-cent fee for the state 911 surcharge on your phone bill now, whether it's a cell phone or a landline. And that is to fund the infrastructure and the ongoing cost of maintaining the network. So the fiber connectivity, it pays the providers that have to charge against that for their monthly reoccurring costs and their build out of the network. And the remaining up to $37 million of that money, but only 25%, 25.5% of the total collection in a year is what gets distributed to 137 dispatch centers in the state.
So all phone lines get a quarter.
Mhm.
Cell phones get 42 cents and landlines get nothing
In Macomb County, correct?
in Macomb County.
Yes.
Can we do something against landlines also?
I don't believe we have the ability to assess that fee under the law.
Okay.
I'd have to verify. I can look. I believe this is just devices.
And the funds that you do get, and they're distributed to the different PSAPs, is that distribution percentage or calculation by statute?
Yes, we are required to distribute it based on per capita, and that is per statute. And then that has to be identified in our state 911 plan as well. So that is how we continue to distribute.
Okay. I tend to agree with both Commissioners Kraft and Haw. I think that a county like Macomb could certainly afford a few $1 million in the budget to support the center. On the other hand, the other municipalities might get a little shock if we cut them off. I would suggest that there's not just the 2 choices. I would suggest that we could have a choice, like, for instance, fund our center and cut the cell phone charge back to a nickel or 10 cents and give all of that money collected from the cell phone to the locals for a year or so.
We can't do that.
Sort of like give them a year knowledge. Can we do something like that?
We cannot. We are required to distribute the money based on a per capita basis by population served for each PSAP.
Okay, so you'd have to keep some of it regardless of what we collected.
Yeah, any PSAP that's in the 911 plan that's designated as a primary is required to receive that, or obligated to receive that funding, yeah.
Okay. And I still think the 6K for the software is, 6K a week for the software is a huge amount. I mean, that's almost $900 a day for that software package. I have a hard time with that amount of money. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Nard?
Just quickly, so you said we paid 25 cents anyway, so you're asking for an extra 17 cents to make it 42 cents now.
I appreciate that. I'm sorry, let me clarify. The 25 cents, everyone in the state of Michigan who has a device or
Okay.
a landline pays 25 cents for a state surcharge.
Okay.
And then locally, the local units of government, which is the counties as defined in the statute, are able to assess a local surcharge in addition to, because that 25 cents doesn't go direct to us, right? We only
Gotcha.
receive a small portion of that in the end.
So this 42 cents will go directly.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Now, explaining that to constituents it's different for each of us because of where we live. Where I live, we have a lot of opioid use and people using their cell phones to call people that have fell out on the ground. And I've had someone do that in front of my house, and thank God I had Narcan. So to explain that to someone is different when you're in different areas. And when I talk to my constituents, it's a no-brainer. It is what it is. They want to pay that because of the need. And I believe that as this need of opioid use gets larger, it's going to be a need. You're going to see people dropping because people that you don't think are using this is using it. And so it'll start happening all over, not just the south end of the county. But by me being directly on the south, right there at that border there, it's very much needed. So, I'm for this, and just explaining it is so different. And then I worked in a field of home care where I went into homes and had to directly, from the 80s to the 2000, I had to go into a home where someone has went into cardiac arrest real quickly, and the doctor and I were in that home. And it took so long, it just so happens that we happen to be doctor and medical technician, that we could save the life. But by the time they were calling, we still were there 5 minutes before they even got there. So just think if we didn't know what to do or we panicked, that person would have died, but we managed to save several lives that way. So I do appreciate you guys finding innovative ways. And as technology grows, we're going to need more things, and we got to start thinking about growth and technology and how things are going to move and how quickly we need to get things done. Because a lot of people are, things are going to be happening that we probably don't see right now. But me being in the medical field, I see a lot of things that are going to be coming down the pipe that we don't even realize yet. But when you're in a certain field, you get wind of things. And I just thank God that you guys are forward thinking to move this forward. And I support it 100%. And so does my constituents. The 42 cent was a no-brainer for them. And I asked, and I even got a call from Genesee County, some of the people there, and they said, you better vote yes for that. So, yes, so just to let you know that you have a lot of support in this.
Thank you, Commissioner Nard.
Thank
All
you.
set?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I lost count. Let's see, have you spoken before?
I have.
Commissioner Sabatini?
I haven't in this item, Chair.
You have not? I'm sorry, have you?
Said no.
Is that a no?
So no,
Please,
I'm still,
Commissioner
you're still in first round.
All right, go ahead, Commissioner Sabatini, sorry.
Good dialogue on this. It's funny because we can all agree and we can all disagree on whatever the item is, but I'm thinking of a funny situation with my kids and how they learned math in comparison to how I learned math. At the end of the day, 1 + 1 was still 2, right? But they learned it in a different way, and I would say, well, that doesn't make sense to me. I like it my way because this makes sense to me how I was taught math. Kind of reminds me of this subject a little bit because you have all of us agreeing to support 911. However, we have one version compared to the other version. And it really comes down to, local control or county control. I commend Ray Township. I commend Clinton Township. I commend all these townships and municipalities that have joined contact and dispatch with us because I think they're getting a great service at a phenomenal price, and the value there is huge. Other communities that want to have their own dispatch, they want to have their own control, so be it. They have that right. We can't tell them what to spend their money on. I don't think that they can tell us what we should spend our money on as a county. But when we get into this discussion, Commissioner Ha hit it right on the head. They have a decision to make, right, as we do. They do have a decision if they want to have their own local millage, but they don't want to make that decision. They want us as a county to make that decision for them so that they can still get this service through the same type of procedure. Getting back to the 1+1 scenario, right? Still doing the same math, we're just doing it a different way. But there's an easy way to do this, and I've just, looking at the budget, general fund dollars that we put into this fund was $2.5 million this year. Anticipated to increase slightly, but basically $2.5 million. That's not a lot of money. It's in a $1 billion budget, I think we can handle that to support 911. But Commissioner Kraft is right. This is a tax. Angela, you said it before, this is not a choice, it's a fee versus a service, right? When this board was brought other millages, the zoo, the DIA, a lot of people said the same thing. Well, I don't use the zoo. I don't use the DIA. Why do I have to pay those taxes if I don't use the service? In this situation, I'm still a no, just to the sense that we have the tax dollars. We can pay for this service. There's no reason to tax our constituents for another item that we already have the tax dollars to do so. That's my position. I don't think it's changed. I've supported the budget with the $2.5 million in it, which many of you did. But this is not what we're talking about. We're trying to change the concept, and it's really a local and a county discrepancy here, and it can be solved, but unfortunately, it's really a decision on the local side, not really on the county side. It's more of a local discrepancy, not a county discrepancy. That's all I have, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have Commissioner Lucido.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So, I respect what some of the other commissioners have said up here, but working from a local municipality, I can say that we would not have the funds to support this 911 service in the and not in every municipality. I'm not going to say all municipalities couldn't support their own 911 service, but I know from my point of view, from the municipality that I represent mainly, and like Commissioner Nard had mentioned, that we don't have the resources in our budget. I did our budget last year. I know we do not have the resources to cover, so we would have to lay off first responders to pay for our 911 services, which is also needed in our community, just like in every community. We all want to support and protect everyone in the county. And I do, whether you call it a tax or a fee, in my opinion, it doesn't matter. And I do agree with Commissioner Zong. It should go to the vote. It should be voted on. It should be voted on. I understand us voting to approve it until it can be voted on, but why not give the people of Macomb County that choice? If we have the option to put it on the ballot and let the voters vote on it, why not give them that option? You can go out there and you can campaign against it all day long. That's fine. Let the majority of the residents of Macomb County, though, make that decision. That's all I have.
Commissioner Song.
Thank you, Chair. So this is not a tax, this is a fee. I think Angie has done a really good job explaining to us. And I think this is a very innovative way of funding 911. They worked really hard to bring this proposal to us. And we all agree that we need to fund it. Commissioner Hall said it best that, it's a lot easier for us to explain to our constituents about the 42 cents. And why I believe it's a fee is because if you don't have a cell phone, you don't need to pay this 42 cents. And people who have cell phones, if you can afford $500, $1,000 device, I think you can afford $5 a year. We're not asking very much, but I do believe that this should go to the voters at some point. And I'm happy to support this resolution in the interim. until we do send it to the voters. But I think it's important, and again, this is a fee, because if you don't want to pay the 42 cents, get rid of your cell phones. I do have one more question, though. Is this fee like the phone fee or the service fee? Because the phones have a plan. So does the 42 cents come off the plan, or does it come off of the actual device?
So when this is assessed, it's actually assessed by the providers, right? So the county's not actually assessing any of our residents. If you have Verizon service, Verizon has now started assessing that fee for you. So on your phone bill, you'll actually see where the different fees are listed out at the bottom. And I apologize because I'm not exactly sure how it is, the specific language, but it does delineate the difference between the state 911 fee and a local fee for Macomb County. So it is an additional service fee and not what Verizon would be charging or AT&T for anything.
So
that
you
they
could
already
purchase a
assess.
phone at Best Buy and not be charged the 42 cents until it's activated and has service?
Until you have a service plan, correct. And then also, I just want to make sure that, because I don't believe I was clear on this, that this is only for postpaid devices. So any prepaid devices, anyone that purchases a prepaid phone, minutes, buy minute cards, there's no local fee on those. Those retailers pay 6% of that sale to the state of Michigan. So
And government devices are not included in the surcharge,
Government
because there
devices.
are some low-income members who receive free phones or, free iPads. That's not included in this 42 cents, right?
no, it is not a fee assessed to the user in that case, no.
Right, thank you. So there you have it. If you can afford a $1,000 phone, I think you can afford 42 cents. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Grote?
I just want to echo on a lot of your comments. That's definitely additional fee, the 42 cents. And putting to a vote on a ballot for our constituents to make a decision would be, I think, great idea. Also, funding, there is a gap, I guess, between, in that resolution, the dates. I would be for it to cover and vote on those funds to be continued on 911, which is very important to our county. So even if we have to make a, I would make the motion to the resolution to put this, in addition to put this to a vote for the next election you mentioned, the next year election, November election.
If we were to wait until the November election, we would lose a year of funding.
But we could vote on it to cover the extra fund.
So I just want to make sure I understand so I speak to that correctly.
There is a gap between the funding,
Yes.
between November, what was the date?
June 30th of 2024
June 30th
and July 1st of
July
2025,
1st.
correct. So really what would have to happen is a collection date would have to be extended through June 30th of 2025 because a public vote, if in favor, would not affect any collection. We wouldn't be able to report any collection that was voted on in favor by the public until May 15th of 2025. So that would essentially be for the June 30th or July 1st, 25 and beyond collection period. However, I very much respect that, Commissioner. My response to that is also the PSAPs, we can't plan for initiatives and projects with an additional year. While we are appreciative of funding supported and enacted by the commission, it is still difficult to know that that's not a sustainable funding source, or that it could potentially not be.
Mr. Chairman, if I can make a amendment to that motion.
So the original motion maker would have to rescind their original motion.
We have a motion on the floor that's been made and seconded.
She's making a motion to amend.
Motion to amend that Macomb County Board of Commissioner renews the county 911 research surcharge of $42 per month per service defined by Michigan statute effective July 1st, 2024 and continuing until June 30, 2005. The Macomb County Board of Commissioners will adopt the resolution approving ballot language for the November 5th, 2024 presidential election ballot that places the proposition and renewing the county 911 surcharge 42 cents per month per device is defined by Michigan statute effectively July 1st, 2025. Would that cover?
That'll cover it. I need a support.
I'll support that motion.
Been moved and supported.
Okay, so I'm not understanding what we just did.
Any more conversation on it? And if
She
there is
withdrew the
none-
motion.
You have Chair Brown on the list.
I'm sorry?
You have Chair Brown on the list.
Oh, I'm sorry. Chair Brown?
They still do the service.
Our dispatchers are the first responder of all the responders that we have. They deserve the support that we've given them. We've heard a lot of good discussion on the board here on both sides about how to get to support them. The motion, I think, covers us, gives the extension for a year until we can get to the vote, so that we don't have any gaps in service or coverage to fund the PSAPs. And then we'll put it on a vote, and most people, I think, will support 42 cents on a question to support first responders and public safety. So I think this is a compromise that will work. It takes care of our PSAPs until then, and we'll get them a long-term ballot language approved, down the road. So I support this amendment because I think we got unity here. Everyone wants to support it. We'll get this coverage for the next year and get it on the ballot appropriately. So I support the motion, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Song.
Thank you so much, Chair. So just to clarify, if we're amending the motion, the resolution, could we please have that in writing in time for our full board tomorrow?
Yes.
So that it's posted and that the public can read it. So Angie, if we amend the resolution to allow this renewal to continue until June 30th, 2025, that will still fill the gap that you're concerned about and allow us to put forth a resolution to have this on the ballot next year.
Yes, it will fill the gap.
Okay. And now, I mean, our full board is tomorrow, so we don't have a lot of time to review this resolution. My only concern with what Commissioner Grott had stated is that by approving this amended resolution, is this locking us into approving a resolution next year? Because if it does, then that would lock us into approving a resolution to go on the ballot, as opposed to saying that the commissioners may adopt a resolution. I might not be here, so I'm just, I'm just covering you guys, but.
You hope you're not.
But I'm saying for the next commissioners, I just want to be clear that if we vote on this amended resolution, that we are promising that we're going to adopt a resolution to put the ballot language on the ballot.
It's this board. This board's making it, but it's not a.
Chair, would you speak to the
All right, thank you.
microphone?
I'm sorry. My understanding, this board made the resolution. A board can't commit another prior board or a future board to any action. This board's making a statement with this resolution today that it's our intention to do that, so.
Okay, I got it.
But I will get clarification for us, other than my legal opinion, which I'm not a lawyer, to the rest of the board for everyone's edification. All right?
Hoping that Commissioner Chair Brown and Commissioner Zong have removed their names, so I'll go to Commissioner Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. Couple questions. If the voters approve this, what would be the anticipated revenue if approved?
Well, if we put the 42 cents on, it would remain in alignment with what we're currently collecting. So there wouldn't, it might vary a little bit depending on population, but yeah, there wouldn't be really any difference from what we're currently collecting.
Okay. The other question is you said, and this is just more for clarification, the highest the board can approve the resolution to renew this without it going to the voters is 42 cents.
Correct.
Is there a minimum that it can be brought to the voters less than 42 cents, or is 42 cents the minimum, or we're just using that to be in conjunction with what the anticipated revenue needs to be?
Yep, so there is not a minimum to put on the ballot. So I mean, it's up to the board. It's your discretion. However, you know, Commissioner Kraft asked me last time, do you need the 42 cents? And I said, yes, we need the 42 cents. And we are not collecting nearly what it costs to operate 911 in this county with all the contribution from the county general fund and the municipalities and other revenue streams that may be at the PSAP's disposal. So the 42 cents is the bare minimum that I would request on behalf of all of our dispatch centers in the county. It just has never been placed on a ballot anywhere else because it can be enacted.
A couple more questions just to clarify this. So if this passes, goes to the voters and it passes, then you would not need any general fund dollars to support the 911 fund?
No, that is not what I'm saying.
So hold on. So you're still going to, we're going to have a tax on the actual user, plus we're going to still take general fund dollars to substantiate the 911 fund.
Right, so we're not asking for an increase. So right now, the county is still contributing general fund dollars to E911 because there's 19 salaries paid for out of that money. So this is not to supplant that. This is saying we need this in addition to what we have, unless the Board of Commissioners wanted to put a higher rate on the ballot and potentially
So that's what I'm trying to answer.
offset.
This is going back to math, okay?
Yeah.
Because if you need a certain amount, why wouldn't you be asking for a certain amount via a millage? And I guess I'm going to ask Commissioner Groth this question because in 3 years or in 2 years or in a year, your costs go up. As you stated earlier, you're going to have to come back to this board and another millage is going to have to be approved by this board to be put on a following election or a ballot to be approved for an increase for your budget. Otherwise, you're going to need more general fund dollars to meet your budget needs, correct?
Right, the budget needs of 911 are not changing,
Yep.
right?
They're going up.
They're only going up.
Okay.
However, we know, being a county department, that we have the board that is likely to approve those needs that we have for those personnel costs. However, the others don't, and I have to advocate as the 911 coordinator for all 9 of them. For the centers that support the communities that a lot of you serve.
Okay.
They don't have that.
So for clarity purposes, we would be bringing this to the voters for what is a minimum to substantiate what you currently need, still having to put general fund dollars in to meet those needs. And as those costs increase year after year, we'll still have to put additional general fund dollars to meet your budget needs.
You would not necessarily have to, it would be up to the board whether or not you wanted to, or you wanted to try and fund that through a fee increase, which would have to be done through a ballot proposal. So,
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But then you'd have to wait for another election, and you have to come back to this board and go through 235 pages of information. Trying to help you here,
I know,
Angela.
I appreciate it.
And make sure that this board approves another millage increase at that point to meet your budget. So I'm just putting this out there as clarity for the board as to the road that some of you are looking to support, because this doesn't end here today thinking that we put this on the ballot and the voters are going to support this. You're going to be asked at a future date to support this or increase this millage at a later date. I wanted to get that clear there because it doesn't say that here on this sheet in front of us. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Zinner?
Just going right. That's a whole different step.
Mr. Van Sickle?
Hi again. So from the discussion I just heard, you're expecting the 911 center costs to go up, so the general fund support will have to go up in the future.
No.
No?
I am expecting an increase in 911 service operations because of the different solutions that we have to provide the service that we do. However, if we were to lose the funding that we currently have, the 42 cents that the residents are already being assessed and paying for, we could potentially have to come to the board and say, we need these projects or different solutions or agreements funded by the general fund, because we are no longer collecting up to the $2.8 million that the county has generated.
So going into the future, you expect the amount of funding from the general fund would not have to be increased? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that.
So you're saying you do expect it to be increased?
Currently, the general fund contributes costs for 19 salaries of personnel within dispatch. So as contractual raises increase, yes, the general fund contribution will increase.
And I have no problem with that.
Sure.
But the point where I'm circling around to is something that I think Commissioner Sabatini almost touched on, is that while we're saying that as we go forward into the future, the 42 cents is fixed. So we expect the county's contribution to the 911 center to have to increase to support whatever. But the other PSAPs are still getting a fixed amount out of that 42 cents. So they're not going to get increases from that. So eventually, all the PSAPs are going to have to get local funding to keep up with what the 42 cent, their contribution of the 42 cents is giving them today. Next year, their costs are going to go up, so they're going to have to start kicking in the next year and the next year. So this 42 cents is not a magic bullet for all the PSAPs, as I sort of think I've heard. I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but you're sort of saying like, well, the locals may not have the money to fund it, but we're really saying we're locking you into a certain dollar amount, and as costs go up, you're going to have to kick in to maintain your funding. Is that sort of a fair assessment?
That the locals are going to have to kick in to maintain? If they want to maintain the service and the solutions that they have and provide, there will have to be funding to support that.
Because we don't have any expectation that the 42 cent per line per month funding is going to go up or down.
No, I'm
We're
not
just-
asking for an increase.
We're just sort of assuming it's going to be a constant out into the future.
Yes.
Vicki, you look like you want to say something.
Yes, I guess I just want to say, it's been explained before, that is one of the advantages of having the surcharge. It is dedicated to 911 money only. General fund money is up to your purview, our office's purview, what the sheriff recommends. As we know, every year, The budget comes, there's negotiations, right? You increase some things, you decrease from other departments, so this provides a dedicated resource for that funding. The board says, and you have been gracious, and yes, costs are gonna rise across the board. So no matter what any department does, it's gonna increase. There's inflation, it's always gonna increase. So the 42 cents is a way for PSAPs, including ours, that not every year when we've come before the board have we gotten everything dispatch is needed. You may say if it was 2 million, well, we look at everything because you have hard decisions to make. We're only gonna give you 1.5. Respect that process. I understand that. But this is a way to now say, right now, we don't need to come to you for that 2 million. This piece is already covered and it's dedicated. So, you know, that's the position that we're put in. This is a mechanism that's allowed under state law as a way for counties to get additional funds. And yes, I get whether you want to call it a tax, a fee, we have different philosophies on that. But we're in this never-ending cycle. If you don't approve the surcharge, yes, we will be coming back every year as our budgets increase, because they will, whether it's technology or salaries, fringes, things like that. And it is a choice on how you want to fund it and what you want to fund. The locals go through that as well. Yes, they can choose not to fund it. You know, we could stand here, and Angela much better than and I won't do it, but I've semi-said it before. There are some PSAPs that are in dire need of dollars. And yes, their boards aren't able to allocate the money to it. And part of me says, yes, they should be doing it, put a priority on it, like I feel it should be, like this board does, but they don't. So we have to try everything we can to try to help them as well. It's a county plan. It's a plan that's approved by this board. It's the responsibility of this board. And as Angela said, and maybe didn't say it stronger, it's the board's responsibility if those PSAPs are well funded or not, and what technology they have and how that falls back. So again, we're doing our due diligence on behalf of the public safety community to bring that to the board. But as trying to say, oh, your budget's gonna go up, you guys aren't surprised by that. I think that's it's not a fair place to ask her that. Of course it's gonna go up. And yes, we're gonna come back to the board. You know what the board could do if you want to give everything? Make it $3. If you really want to give this and don't want general fund dollars dedicated to it or coming back, then ask the voters for $3 and see what happens. And then maybe you can take that off of the general fund and use that money elsewhere. I don't know that that's a good plan. Some people don't like $5 a year for the taxpayers. But when you start asking questions about the back and forth, of course there's going to be back and forth in the budget. And at some point, the 42 cents won't be enough because we're going to go up, right? We're not going to go down. So the 42 cents is what we thought was fair. We said it before when I presented, even before Angela. 42 cents for one PSAP, that's not covering any PSAP's costs. Yeah, for some it's great. It's maybe more bang for their buck. It's not covering all of our expenses. So again, you try to be fair. If you ask for $3 for some, maybe that would put them over what they need. I doubt it. But as Angela said, we have to be careful about that and how much we collect. And Angela and the team in the Wireless Oversight Committee that is made up of many different disciplines believe that the 42 cent is the right amount for where we're at now and are trying to be conscious of that balance between general fund dollars and what we can collect elsewhere.
Well, don't misunderstand. If this board wanted to totally fund our 911 center, I'm okay with that. The thing that I'm trying to point out is that I got the idea that some people believe on this board, some people believe that the 42 cents will totally support the local PSAPs. And my point is, it's 42 cents today, and all the PSAPs, the local and the 911 center, costs are going to go up every year, but the surcharge funding I think the county is probably pretty well saturated with cell phones, so I don't see our cell phone population as drastically increasing. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's what I think. So if the cell phone population is basically saturated, our 42-cent fee tax, whatever, is going to remain basically constant. And by statute, our distribution is going to be basically constant. So the locals are going to receive a flat amount of money into the future. And so they're going to have to either come up with extra funds or cut services.
Correct, which is the situation now with if they only have general fund dollars.
So
It's the same
I just want
situation.
people to understand that the 42 cents flat into the future is not like a magic bullet that's going to cover local PSAPs out into the future. They're going to have to buck up and come with some money if they want to maintain the services that they're currently having.
Correct, maintain or cut or do what they've done now and not update their technology, not add dispatchers, not be part of current technology.
Right, but the 42 cents is more or less a fixed amount to the locals into the future. It's not going to keep increasing.
Correct.
Probably, or at least that's my opinion. So, like I said, I want to totally support the 911 center. I just see the locals supporting their own centers as being the problem that, if you will, that's before this board. And we have no control over other municipalities, so, and that, in my mind, is the question. Anyway, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Sabatini, I see on the list, if this is in regards to the amendment, the resolution for the amendment, that's fine, but if it's something else, can we go on the amendment first and then you can speak
It's just
later? Or is it-
really, really brief, Chair, really brief.
Go
Just,
ahead,
I
Commissioner
just wanted to
Sabatini.
make that note in regards to what Vicky addressed to. But in regards to this, my understanding of when the 911 fund was created and taken out of the sheriff's budget, it was to be separated. If we're still using general fund dollars in this fund, my question goes back, then why was it separated to begin with? If this tax was going to happen, then this tax should be fully substantiating this fund. And it's not, and we're still going to have to put general fund dollars into it. That's all I wanted to state. Thank you, Chair.
Right now, we have an amendment to the resolution. I'm going to read the amendment, and then we're going to hopefully vote on this. And it reads something like this: Now therefore be it resolved that the Macomb County Board of Commissioners hereby renews the county 911 surcharge of 0.42 cents per month per device as defined by Michigan statute effective July 1st, 2024, and continuing until June 30th, 2025. Be it further resolved that the Macomb County Board of Commissioners may adopt a resolution approving ballot language for the November 5th, 2024 presidential election ballot that places the proposition of renewing the county 911 surcharge of 0.42 per month per device as defined by Michigan statute effective July 1st, 2025. That is the question. That's what we're voting on. Commissioners, if we understand that, please vote.
Motion passes 11-2. Commissioners Kraft and Sabatini voting no.
Thank you. Thanks, Ange.
Thank
Great
you.
presentation.
Now that's to amend the resolution?
Yeah, now we're going to vote on the actual resolution.
Yeah.
Now we're voting on the actual resolution itself. If you would, please vote on that. Well, hold on, I want to make sure we got this right. So we're adopting the original resolution with the amendment, am I correct?
Correct.
Okay,
The $3.
yeah, we're amending the original resolution. That's good, it's good.
Motion passes 9-4. Commissioners Kraft, Sabatini, Vansickle, and Zinner voting no.
Thank you. Thanks again, Ange, for a great report. Thank you all for attending. I'm sorry it went on this long, but a lot of questions, a lot of money. My fire chief came into my face, he said I better vote for this, so here I am. Thanks, Chief Edmonds, for showing up so long. I want to thank the commissioners. You know, we've said this before, and I'll say it again. We don't always agree to agree, but we agree to disagree, and we agree to do it in a professional manner. And I've seen that today, and I see it time and time again. I don't know if some of us have been in municipalities and been in political or government service for a while, and we've seen situations where this doesn't happen. I've been on council. I've seen council members get up and threaten each other physically. You know, of course, we have the women here. I don't think we should threaten them physically. Maybe the guys do. But anyway, my point is, we do it respectfully. I appreciate it as a chair, and I think each chair and each one of us as commissioners appreciate that also. So I personally want to thank you all. Let's move on to Channel 7. Let's move on to Channel 7. We've been on 2, 4, and 9. Let's go to Channel 7. Excuse me. Correspondence. 2022 annual report. I'm sorry, did we get a motion to support? We did.
Motion to receive and file.
Support, Lucido.
Oh, that was quick. All right, let's go to public participation.
Chair, really quick on this, if I may just say something. We are
The
getting ready
public
for budget.
participation or correspondence?
Correspondence.
Go.
We are getting ready for budget season. I think this is a great correspondence piece because it's telling us all about what's happening in the courts. So as these departments come to us, there's valid information in here on how you vote on these specific departments that intertwine with the courts. Thank you, Chair.
That's why we have you, Mr. Sabatini. You'll inform us all. Item 8 is public participation. I don't even see the news reporter. He's gone too?
He's gone, they're all gone.
He's gone too, he left. Public participation. Other than that, I have commissioners' comments. Let me see if I can.
File the correspondence.
Which one? Correspondence? We didn't? I'm sorry. Okay, receive and file correspondence. Please vote. I don't want to go and eat.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. We're going to close public participation because there is no public participating. And number 9, we're going to go to commissioners' comments. Can I see a hand if anybody wants to speak? Commissioner Hawk, please.
Just want to congratulate you, Chairman, on handling a very professional meeting on a very difficult subject. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hall. Anybody else? Want to see a handshake? Nobody? Everybody? Then we will go to
Support.
It's been moved and supported for adjournment. Please vote. Thanks again, everybody. I really do appreciate it.
Good job, Joseph.